everyone, and welcome back. We are finally almost into fall. It is now the beginning of September, and it's one of my favorite times of the year because we are going to start harvesting seeds so we can use them for next year's vegetable garden. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Kristy. I am located in Massachusetts, Zone 6A, and our average last frost date is around October 3rd and sometimes can extend till October 10th. So since it's the beginning of September, I'm trying to harvest as much as I can before we get that frost. We have blight setting in, I have peppers that are outgrowing and they are falling down. So it's kind of a hot mess in the garden right now. And I've been busy with back to school and also my flower stand. So I figured today, since it's not going to rain for another couple of hours, maybe we can head on over to the vegetable garden and save some seeds for next year. And one reason why I like saving seeds is because when your plants are growing in your backyard, they are getting used to your climate. So here in New England, we have just crazy New England weather where it can be hot and humid, and the next thing you know, it's going to be cold. We had a really cold start to the summer. I had stunted growth with my peppers. We have a lot of rain. It kind of gets it all. So since my plants are getting used to this crazy New England weather, hopefully when I save these seeds, it can pass down to my new plants next year, a little bit more of a tolerance to these weather conditions. A lot of my tomato seeds were actually saved from my farm share, same with my peppers as well, the bell peppers that is. And I found that they were able to do a really good job. Like my cherry tomatoes, to be honest, they don't have that much blight compared to my determinate tomatoes with the seeds that I started just from packs that I purchased online. And so I'm definitely going to harvest my yellow pear tomatoes, my red cherry tomatoes, and I also have my Sungold tomatoes. And what I like to do is find ones that are a little bit more ripened. I usually tend for my tomatoes, especially my cherry ones that is, to get the ones that are already split. Not fully split, but just too much that they won't stay on my kitchen counter long without getting all gooky and stuff. So those are the ones I like to use for my tomatoes. Now for my peppers, I usually like to get them once they start blushing or they have fully ripened. So when they turn from green to orange, I will collect those. My bell peppers, once they start blushing a little bit red. And then green beans, you want to get them when they are just super dried out. And then they're nice and hard and you can collect them. And Madeline and I actually did that a couple of weeks ago before this next flush came. And I left some actually on the vine so we could harvest them today. So before we head to the garden, I just want to show you some of the supplies that I use when I am saving seeds. Not only do I like to save seeds so that way I can use them next year, but they're also really good for seed swapping. I have some local seed swapping in town, and then I also love to use the seed swapping Facebook groups. I did a video on that, so definitely check it out. I talk a little bit more in depth and show some of the groups that I like to use for seed swapping. So this is a great way to store some seeds so that way maybe you can trade and get something that you would like to try next year to grow. So for saving seeds, I like to use these little baggies, and I will also try and stay as organized as I can. And this way it says like the seed type, the variety, I'll write what month and year that I have saved them. And sometimes like a little note if it's like a flower, what color it might be. But this is how I like to save my seeds, and it also makes it really easy if you use a bag like this for seed swapping. For tomatoes, some of the supplies I like to use is a small mason jar, or I like to use these glass yogurt cups that I will recycle. A plastic cup totally works as well. And then since I do have pets and kids, I don't want them sticking their fingers into it because they do have to ferment for about 24 to 48 hours. I will use a coffee filter and a rubber band to place on top, so that way it can still breathe, but the animals and kids won't be getting into them. And then also for labeling, I will use masking tape and a Sharpie. Once the tomatoes are done fermenting, I will also use a paper plate for them to dry. I will also use a paper plate for my bell peppers as well as my green beans. I let them just try and dry out. I do it for flower seeds as well. Sometimes I'll let them sit out for a whole entire week in a nice cool place in my bedroom, just away from the sun. That way they will just be nice and dry, and then I can put them into some sort of storage method afterwards, so they'll stay in a cool, dark place until I plant them next fall. All right, so let's head to the garden and see what we can harvest. So we're gonna do some cherry tomatoes, and I have some yellow pear ones right here. I'm actually going to use this one because it's a little wonky, but all I need is just a handful. So I'll probably only pick 3 to 4, I mean 5 if you really want to, but I don't plan on doing as many vegetables next year. So I'm going to pick at least 3 of every kind of tomato. So I have 1 here, 2, and 3. And I like to get ones that might have blemishes, especially because I do tend to give them away or put them at my stand. So ones that are either split or have a blemish, I'll just use those for seed saving. So now we have our 3 yellow pear tomatoes, and these actually started from Emma Gardner. Now we are looking for our cherry tomatoes. I actually had a few different types of cherry tomatoes. So I'm going to just take a handful of each. Again, I'm only going to take about 3 or 4 because there's actually a lot of seeds per tomato. So I'm going to make sure that it is completely red. And I actually really like these small little ones. These were my favorite. So I'm going to save a couple of these compared to, let me see if I can find the bigger ones. Compared to this side. And this is actually a perfect example of ones that I like to pick when I am going to be saving. So do you see how it has that split there? We have been having some big spurts of rain. And so when your tomatoes get too much water, you'll notice that they split. This is my favorite ones to pick. I usually will just take them and I'll chuck them for the chipmunks to eat, so they'll leave the good ones alone. I'll just leave them on the floor. But I'm going to be taking these for saving seeds. And as you can see, they are totally different sizes. So I have 2 different types. I have super sweet 100s, and I think I saved another smaller one like this from my farm share. So I'm going to try and get a little of each. And then here is a good one too. It's also pretty squished, so I am going to be using these as well. So we have the red and yellow. Now we have to get the Sungold. I definitely will probably get a handful more of those because those are by far my absolute favorite, especially when I'm making my favorite pasta dish for the kids. So we're gonna get some Sungolds to add to our basket. And the garden is absolutely buzzing right now with bumblebees, which makes me so happy because last year I had a hard time with my squash and zucchini getting pollinated. So this year it has been going so well. Thank you, bees, for coming back, and I just really hope this continues. So now let's get some Sungolds, and I actually see one right here that I will be taking. Again, I like to get the ones that are pretty split open. This is something that would not last on my counter very long. So I'm going to get a handful of them. And I'm really hoping that this thunderstorm can hold off so we can try and harvest things before it starts to downpour. So I see a couple more Sungolds that I might have to sacrifice. But we actually just made our dish the other day, so I'm not going to be making it quite too soon. But I'm definitely, oh, here we go. Do you see that? We have another Sungold that is split. So this will be a good contender for saving seeds. And then let's see, unfortunately there's a lot that was eaten by the chipmunks, so I don't have too many that I can see on this side, but I can also hop on the other side and hopefully save some. So I went around to the other side, and we have all of our cherry tomatoes that we will be saving the seeds for. And this same exact process will be used for your larger determinate tomatoes. Unfortunately, I actually had a coworker that bought all of mine, and so I don't have any to grab right now, but it's going to be, again, the same process, and I'll definitely do another video on just tomatoes alone. But I just wanted to show you what you can take from your garden today if you wanted to, so you can save seeds for next year. So let's go find some peppers. I'm going to do jalapeno and my bell peppers, maybe a snacker one if I can. I think I might see an orange snacker pepper ready to go. And then we'll get some green beans, and I'll show you exactly what we need to do next. All right, now we're going to be doing the jalapenos, and I, again, have only done it before when they have ripened. I haven't tried it while they were still while they were still green. So I have some that are super ripe. Again, I am not a huge jalapeno fan, and I said, hey, I'm not gonna be growing them next year, but I do wanna save some seeds so that way I can swap, and I can also give them to the neighborhood. And if you see me dip, dodge, and duck and dive, it's because literally there's bees everywhere, and I think they're getting a little mad at me that I am just invading their space. So let's get some of these jalapenos. Like, as you can see, we kind of forgot about some, but that's okay. So I'm just going to grab these, And my jalapenos have had not any issues. I got these from M.I. Gardner. So my cherry tomatoes were from my farm share, and my yellow pear tomatoes and the jalapenos will be from M.I. Gardner, and then my bell peppers will also be from my farm share last year. And I had great germination rates with ones that I have saved last year. So I was very excited about that. So let's get some of these peppers. And I'm also gonna get a few of the larger green ones as well, just in case if we crack these open and they don't look too good inside, because these are pretty far gone. So let's see here. So I'm gonna grab some of the larger ones as well. We have our peppers. These ones are just going to be sacrificed. We won't be cooking with them tonight. So now we're moving on to the bell peppers. So my bell peppers have seen better days. I haven't been doing a good job trellising them, so they're kind of flopping over, but that's okay. I'm kind of getting a little bit lazy and almost kind of neglecting my vegetable garden, but hey, who isn't? So I do see one down here that is starting to blush. So I'm going to take this one for my bell pepper to save, and I only need one just to save seeds for them. All right, and we're jumping all around. I do see one orange snacker pepper over here. I'm going to try and reach in and grab that. And we'll be using this to save. All right, bell peppers and cherry tomatoes check. Let's go on over to the green beans. Here is my green bean patch, which honestly did not last this long. Last year I got 2 flushes and that was about it. I just harvested from a 3rd flush of green beans. This is a bush variety, and then it's actually still putting on flowers. So hopefully I'll get one more harvest, because I do actually want to pull this up. I'm going to use this maybe for some larkspur for next year, but this will be coming up maybe next weekend, so hopefully I'll get some green beans before then. And we have a green bean comparison. So this is something that you obviously would like to eat, and this is what it's going to look like when you want to harvest it. So I always make sure that I leave some of these nice green ones left on the bushes, so that way they can dry out, and you're gonna wait until they're this beige color, and then they have like a nice papery feel, and the kids absolutely love harvesting them. I don't have to worry about in case if they accidentally snap it off or break it when they're still green and we want to eat them. And Madeline likes to call it a little magic trick. She loves cracking these open and finding the magic beans inside. So it's a fun thing to do with your kids if you have any, and that way you don't have to worry about them being super small and worrying about them breaking. So definitely do this with the kids if you can. So this is the one we want to harvest when we want seeds, and this is what we want to harvest when we want to eat. So we have everything that we need. Let's go and get those seeds ready. Right, we have all of our seeds harvested. So today we're just again focusing on peppers, green beans, and tomatoes. So these are all going to be cherry tomatoes, but it's the same exact process if you're doing your determinate ones as well. So I'm going to start with the peppers and then the green beans, because those are fairly easy, and then we'll move on to the tomatoes last. So for peppers, I will just be needing a knife. Hold on one second. All right, back with a knife. So for the pepper, I'm just going to actually tilt this down. Okay, and let's start with the pepper first. So I am just going to take a paper plate, and always make sure you label it. Doesn't really matter, I feel like, on the date. I just make sure that I know that this is going to be a red bell pepper. And you can also use a paper towel if you like as well. I just find that sometimes it's a little bit harder to get it off the paper towel, and sometimes you can get some residue of the paper towel, especially if they kind of clump together. But we have our bell pepper, and I am also going to save it because I guess I can still eat this as well. So I like to just normally cut the top off. And twist. And you'll see the little peppers inside. Now, actually, I only have a few that still look good, but I am going to just take them all off, and I probably will end up actually getting another pepper too. So I like to make sure that they're nice and white, just like this one right here. A lot of them are kind of brown, and they're a little mushy too. It's been really hot and humid lately, so I might have to just go and get another bell pepper. All right, so let me show you what the seeds are gonna look like. So you want them when they're nice and white like this. And here I have some that are kind of brown and mushy, so I'm gonna skip those. Luckily I saved some last week so I could show you them what they look like when they are done drying. So this will kind of be like a two-part video where I'm gonna show you how to harvest them, and then we'll check back in a few days when everything is dry and how to store them. So we're going to save these. I'm just gonna leave it like this. I don't need the top though. So this we will discard, and we will give it to the chipmunks, or the little bunny that likes to live here. And we're gonna save our bell pepper seed, and I'll show you what they look like in a little bit when they're done drying. But I only probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seeds that look pretty good. The rest I will discard once they are dry. But let's go on to the jalapeno peppers. So for the jalapeno peppers, I'm gonna do the same exact thing. I'm just going to cut the tops off. And these we will not be eating, and I'm pretty sure the bunny might not like these. And this actually, with just this one, has a ton of seeds. And so all I am going to do is just scrape them off, and we're gonna let them dry on the paper plate for a few days. And let's see what it looks like in the ones that are really ripened, because if not, oh, these ones are actually still good too, so we'll get these as well. All right, so we're just gonna put these in the garden, and we'll get one more jalapeno top. All right, let's see, I think that's pretty good on that side. So for peppers, you really don't need too many because so many seeds come out of them. And one last pepper is our orange snacker pepper. I really love snacker peppers. I think they're perfect for when we have like tacos, or you just want a quick bite to eat. So we're gonna do our orange snacker. And then we'll move on to our green beans. So again, same process. You're just going to cut the tops off. I won't be using this tonight. I know I should be saving it. All right, so let's cut it up, and then there's a good amount of seeds inside. And next year I only plan on having just a handful, so I don't need too many, but again, it's really good for seed swapping, or if you want to grow some things for a friend, or you want to sell your starts, or just gift them. Lots of options. But I am trying to save as many seeds as I can. I will also show you how I save my flower seeds as well. I already have some, like my coneflower and my Mexican sunflower, that I have been harvesting, and then I've been letting a sunflower stay up on the stalk over there too. All right, so we have our orange snacker peppers, and we're gonna move on to the green beans. Green beans are super fun. So these are gonna be a bush variety. I also like to do the Kentucky pole beans as well. Those will give you a nice fall harvest. Okay, so let's do our green beans. So all you have to do is just literally crack the shell. Sometimes you might need to dig your nail in, but you are going to just have these nice, hard, brown seeds inside, and it's seriously as simple as that. We collected all of these the other day. I let them dry in a paper towel for a couple of days, but Malin had so much fun. I'm not gonna need all of those. So again, great for seed swapping or for gifting, but it's just another great way to not have to buy seeds for the spring. And the kids had a nice fun activity to do. Hey, you never know, they might plant them around the yard and you can get some surprises next year. All right, let's get these last few. And then we'll move on to our cherry tomatoes. All right, and we have our green beans. So cherry tomatoes is a little bit of a different process. I just saw some YouTube videos last year and was successful, so I just wanted to share just a quick version of how to do it. So I like to get a jar or a cup, like a plastic cup. You will be filling it with water, so don't use a paper cup, just something that is able to hold water. And all you are going to do is you are going to cut them open, and you are going to squeeze the seeds, and they're going to have like a gel-like substance. And you are going to put them in here. We'll add some water, and we'll let them sit for 24 to 48 hours. So it gets a little bit messy. Basically, it has this gel to protect the seeds. And if I actually have a lot of volunteer tomatoes around, and what happens is the tomato gets eaten by my chipmunks, for example. And then they will eat them, and then they will have some droppings that will contain the seeds. And since this jelly-like substance is to protect the seeds for future seedlings, the little coating will come off. As you can see, I don't know if you can see it in there. It's like super jelly. So the water is going to help break it down, just like if it was in an animal's digestive system. So that way we can let them dry, and I usually wash them off with like a little strainer. I use this strainer too for collecting my like coneflower seeds or anything that I need to separate like the chaff from with flowers. And I'll definitely put a link in my description to the sifter that I like to use. So we have our yellow pear, and make sure you label, because oh, this one doesn't have any, because you won't be able to tell the difference later. So I'm going to label it, and then we'll move on to our Sungold. So I have my jar, I labeled it Sungold, and the same thing, I like to just cut them in half. And I will just make sure I just squeeze whatever I can for seeds into my little mason jar. And we'll get rid of all of the jelly in a few days. All right, and just like that, we have our tomato seedlings, we have our green beans and our peppers. So I'm gonna check back with you in about 2 to 3 days. I'm gonna let the tomatoes ferment. So all you have to do is you just take some water. I added some water. Oh, goodness, sorry, the bugs are so bad. So all I did was add some water. And it's gonna help separate and dissolve that jelly-like substance on the tomato seeds. And then what I like to do, because again, I have kids and a pets, I will take a coffee filter, put it on so it still can get some air. And then I will put a rubber band on it so it's going to look like this until I'm ready to take it off and separate the seeds. So I'll see you in a few days. Hey everyone, and welcome back. It is now part 2 of this video where we will be taking our tomato seeds and rinsing them out and drying them off on paper plates. I'm going to show you how the peppers have dried. It is actually Wednesday. We did this on Sunday. So normally I would leave them out a little bit longer, but they look great, nice and dry. So we're going to pack our seeds up in my little envelopes I purchased off of Amazon. The tomato seeds will still have to dry. However, it's the same exact process as the peppers, where you're going to just let them dry on the paper plates. I'll probably let those actually dry for at least a week before I just put them in an envelope and save them for next year. But it's still, again, the same process. So let's take a look at how the peppers are doing. So if you remember, I did open up my red bell pepper and I was like, oh man, I probably got like 4 seeds. So this is what it will look like once it's dry. They're probably all moving everywhere, but these white ones right here are the ones that you want to save. So all these like little brown ones, clearly those were not viable. So we'll be checking those. So from that red bell pepper, I probably have 4 good ones, 5. One looks a little bit iffy. I'll save it anyways. But I did beforehand. This was off of just 1 red bell pepper, and I have a ton in there that I'm going to save. More than enough than what I plan on planting next year. I probably will only stick to about 8 or so bell peppers. That is perfect for my family. So this is gonna be great. So I'm going to put both of these. Again, I use these little seed envelopes right here. I got them off of Amazon. There's more simple ones than this where it's just a plain brown envelope. I just like to be able to write that these are going to be red bell peppers. And I got these in, what is it, September of 2025. And then I am just going to write as a side note that these originally were from my farm share. So I'm going to write 2nd year farm share seedlings so I know. And then I am going to put all of the viable ones in. Again, it's going to be anything. I don't know if I can get them to stick to my finger. That is going to be that like yellowy, beigey tinge seed. So those will go in there. So I'm gonna pack these up and then we'll get to the green beans, which have been just laying on a paper plate. Super simple. Those will go in as well. And then we'll get to the tomatoes. So now it's time for the tomatoes. As you remember, we put them in these little jars. I put a coffee filter and a rubber band. That way they still can breathe. But look at the difference in them. It's super cloudy. The seeds are down to the bottom right now. I probably could let this sit another day or two, but my husband calls it a science experiment and he really wants it out of our bedroom right now. So this is going to be the Sungold. So for the tomatoes, I will be using this small, I think it's like a baking sifter. It's perfect. I use it for my cone flour, black-eyed Susan, anything that I'm trying to save seeds. And I just need to either give it a good shake to try and separate things like the larger pieces, or in this case for tomatoes. So we're gonna move over to the grass area, but all I'm going to do is hold this and I'm going to dump all of the liquid out and this will catch all of the tomato seeds. Then I'm gonna take my hose and lightly rinse it off. Give it a little swishes, rinse it off again. And then I just have some more paper plates where I will let them dry for at least a week on these paper plates. Again, don't forget to label them. And then I will go, and then once they're dry, I will put them in here and then we'll be good to go for next year. So let's move on over to the grass area. I'm gonna show you how I clean them and then we'll let them dry. But that we'll just end it there for the drying because I really wanna show you guys what to do. So let's go. All right, so we have our sifter right here, and I do have my Sungolds, and all I'm going to do is just dump everything out and give it a good shake, and there's going to be a few left, but that's okay. I'll get those after. So this is what it's going to look like. There still might be some of the jelly-like substance, so we're gonna give it a nice little rinse. So I have my hose. And we are just going to give it a little rinse. And then I will just try and separate them a little bit. And they might get stuck to each other when you are drying them. You can try and separate them later. Or you know what, if they get stuck, just plant a few at a time. So again, I just give it a nice little rinse. And this is perfect. Look, nothing is going through. And then just try and shake any of the extra off. And then we have our paper plate marked Sungold. And all I'm going to do is just hold it here and see what we can do with just, there we go. Flick it on with one hand. All right. And there you have it. So they're on here, and what I also like to do is just try and separate them a little bit. And again, I like to give them a good week or so to dry. You can also put it on a paper towel, but I did find that sometimes the paper towel would be still stuck after it dried. And every day or so, you can actually go through and just try and get rid of these like little clumps that are stuck together. But I found just leaving it like this was totally fine. So here are our Sungolds. Let's do our yellow. All right, and just like that, look at all these cherry tomato seeds that we're gonna have for next year, which is so exciting. And I did mix the two different varieties of cherry tomatoes. I'll probably still get at least like 20 of these, 30 of these going. I probably only need about like 15 or so. Using the cattle panel, I highly suggest if you're doing any type of indeterminate tomato, such as cherries or Sungold, or anything that just will keep growing, so it has great support. I mean, ours is just insane. You have to duck and dodge to get in, and it's just overproducing, which is amazing. So let's go back up. I'll show you how everything looks, and then we're gonna conclude it for the day. We are starting to lose daylight. I'm still in my work clothes. Kids are on a walk. We just finished dinner, and I'm like, I have to film this before they get all like gross and moldy, because let me tell you, last year, the reason why my husband calls it a science experiment is because I probably left it for like a good month or so. I forgot all about it. And some of the seeds I really wanted to save got so gross and moldy that we just had to chuck the whole entire thing. So I was like, this is not gonna happen this year. So we have our Sungold. Again, I'm just gonna let them dry for at least a week on this paper plate. And then what I will do is from time to time is try and separate the little chunks that might have formed. We have a ton of cherry tomatoes. It does have both the varieties that I did grow, the super sweet, and I can't remember what the other one was. It wasn't the spoon tomatoes because they were a little bit bigger than that. But I don't care because I will still do a whole entire garden box of cherry tomatoes, and then I'll put some on the cattle panel. I'm not sure if I'm going to do 2 cattle panels of cherry tomatoes because my friends and coworkers absolutely love these, and family members, and I feel like you can never have enough cherry tomatoes. And then we have some of our yellow pear. So the Sungold and cherries are both from my farm share last year that I saved. And then I did the yellow pear from M.I. Gardener, and I was actually growing them mainly for my coworker because she absolutely loves them. And I was telling her that I thought these were like absolutely dead. I planted them out just to hope that there was some sort of life still left in them, because between all of the plants in the grow room, they were getting the least bit of sunlight because it just took so long. I almost killed them all in the greenhouse when I moved them over to Harden Off. But I planted them and they are producing so much. So I'm so happy I did not chuck them. So I hope you found this helpful. Let me know in the comments if you are also trying to save your own seeds, either to, save some money, or maybe just get some seeds that are a little bit more adapted to your climate and your different growing conditions, or maybe you're using them for seed swapping or just personal use. So let me know in the comments if you have tried saving your tomato, pepper, or green bean seeds. I would love to hear from you. I'll definitely try and do just a tomato one later on, and we're going to be saving a lot of flower seeds definitely in the next few weeks. So thank you so much again for always tuning in. Go ahead and click like and subscribe and hit that bell button so you will stay notified with anything else that is happening here in my garden. And until next time, happy gardening. Bye.